Today, we are talking about AEW's All In show, which is happening in a week's time. This whole Yeah Hangout might not happen at the same time because we might be covering All In on the channel. I'm definitely watching it, and I can't wait to be there, and I hope that you can join me. But today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the build to All In and the fact that they've left it so late. They've had so many opportunities to tell stories, and they haven't done it, Dan. It feels like this Rampage was just filled to the brim with stuff, including the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which had nothing to do with All In whatsoever, and actually took time away from them being able to tell them stories. But it all just feels a little bit rushed, Dan. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I think that they've sort of looked at this All In very similar to the original All In, and they just want to put on great matches, but also they're also trying to get as many people on the card as possible.
Yeah.
Rather than giving us Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega in singles matches, they're doing multi-man matches, and quite a few of them, to get people on the card, which for the performers is great. Payday for them.
And for the people at Wembley, I think they want to see people. So I kind of get it. But they've got a bloated roster is the problem.
Yeah. And some of the performers are not even AEW signed.
That's right. And they have brought in a couple of big names like Will Ospreay coming in for a match, which will be great. I mean, I'm quite excited by Ospreay and Jericho. I think that that's an exciting match. But again, the build has been a bit all over the place. They've been doing this Don Callis thing and then Will Ospreay. And I don't think people really connect Will Ospreay much with Don Callis.
No, but if it's in the UK, Will Ospreay is from not very far from the stadium.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So it would be a proper hometown crowd for him.
It would be, but again, there's other matches he could do with Will Ospreay. I think Jericho at the minute doesn't feel like a heel or a face. He feels like this
complete tweener.
Kind of, but in a really weird way, still doing heel things. It's very bizarre, Jericho's character at times. And I think, and I understand that AEW have a relationship with New Japan and stuff like that, and I think that's great. But I do think that if they'd spent the time to tell the stories better, whether it was multi-man matches or not, then we would be more excited for All In. They've sold an incredible amount of tickets. One of the biggest wrestling events of all time, let alone in the UK. It is the biggest wrestling event in the UK. But I feel like if they told the stories a bit better, like if we knew for a few weeks that we was getting Samoa Joe and CM Punk, and they really sort of built into that to lead to this confrontation at All In, then we'd be in a better place than we are now, Dan.
I think we probably would be, but with the week after, is it all out the week after?
Yeah.
To me, if you're going to do two shows that close together, I would, if I was Tony Khan and it was up to me, I would say All In is a show for the fans. Mm-hmm. That is dream match card, Forbidden Door style, but for the UK audience. Mm-hmm. Then the week after, you'll have All Out, which is an AEW story show.
Maybe,
so you could have just dream matches this coming week, big headline matches. You can still do a couple of multi-man matches, or you could, if you really wanted to play it off to get some more people on the card, do a casino battle royal for the main event of All Out.
Right, wow.
You could do something.
Do you think that'd sell?
I would. If you have a casino battle royal and you have a joker, you could put someone in that joker's spot that the crowd might not expect to show up, but Tony Khan could bring other people in. One person that's massively been rumoured is Grado. You have him come out as the joker. That would blow the roof. I mean, Wembley doesn't have a roof, but it would blow the roof off the place.
Can I be honest? I think because obviously they had Jeff Jarrett attacked Grado on a podcast with a guitar, and that's the hint that we're getting a match at All In.
Yeah,
I think it's garbage. Grado doesn't necessarily excite me that much, and you know, the biggest singles match in this is the MJF and Adam Cole, which they've done a lot of time building up, and I think will be great. I think the fact we're getting them on the pre-show as well against Aussie Open, I think there's going to be a great conclusion to that story, a wrap up of that story at All In, and I think that that's going to be the thing that everyone talks about. And I do understand them putting people on the show. I think people are excited to see Sting. People are excited to see CM Punk. So I get why you'd throw them all in there. I just think if you are going to throw them all in there, the stories can be built better. Someone put earlier that there's another match that's been announced from Collision. It's Hobbs versus Miro. That's another great
All
example.
Out the week after.
Oh, that's for All Out. Sorry, not for All In. Right. But again, All Out's only 2 weeks away. If you're going to put that match on, tell us some stories to build up to that match. Go from pay-per-view to pay-per-view. They're not working on a monthly schedule like WWE often do. WWE can fall into traps of putting on the same match.
Repeat matches on multiple pay-per-views or premium live events.
Which has been so much better since Triple H has
took most of creative.
Yeah. But I think there's been mistakes that have been made here, but it's still sold out. And one of the interesting things, Dan, as well, about what you say about it being kind of a fan show, is that you actually have it's a much cheaper show to buy on the Fight Network.
Yeah,
I think it's like 15 quid or something like that. It's cheaper than normal AEW pay-per-view, which kind of makes it feel more affordable to people and kind of. But this is going to be a spectacle.
I think that could also be partly the time difference, because the show's going to be airing a lot earlier in the US at the same time as well.
I wonder what their viewing numbers for Money in the Bank was, because obviously that will have been the same issues with that. So.
But with that, you've got the WWE Network, which you pay £10 a month for anyway. If it was included in the Fight TV package, it would be more of a similar story. But because this is its own pay-per-view, people have to shell out extra money on top of the Fight TV pass.
But then I quite like the fact that the shows, when the shows are on early, like the Saudi shows, and they're like start mid-afternoon for it. So that's like perfect for me. Do you know what I mean?
For us in the UK, it's absolutely amazing. If we are wanting to cover the content and stream and do live watch-alongs, but with the US audience, probably their biggest market by a long way, it's going to be very early afternoon for them. And that's where I think the issue is going to be for the American audience, and I think that's going to cause a lot of problems.
Dude, you know, I'm seriously surprised that they haven't got this on TV in the UK. Like, you would have thought they would have really pushed for that, like ITV and really sort of
even Sky Box Office.
Yeah, because it's been advertised everywhere in the UK. Like, there's billboards, there's all sorts of stuff.
You're watching. I mean, I was watching Monday Night Raw, and I actually commented on it that you watch Monday Night Raw. It cuts to a commercial break, and the very, very, very first commercial is a promo for All In.
Yeah.
And then going back into it. Yeah.
They've advertised it heavily, but they've not booked the show in a way that would excite people. Is part of the problem, apart from the Adam Cole and MJF stuff, I feel. Which is what Andrew says as well. It feels like outside of Cole versus MJF, there's been no build, and certainly enough to entice the casual fans to tune in for the build-up. What's one of the things, ITV hasn't seen a big jump in their viewership. I know that much. In fact, it's gone down since the last pay-per-view. They need to stick the landing rather than the build, as this is AEW's biggest chance to grow the audience moving forward. And you know what? This is the plus side of it. They will stick the landing. All In will be great. AEW do great pay-per-views. They know how to do great pay-per-views. However, if you had that story going into it as well, it'd be next level.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But I do also think that if you've got two big shows back to back within a week of each other or a week apart, it's hard to do a story up until this show and then build another story for the week after.
But you
without
do
doing rematches.
You do the tag team match. So you do and that's probably what they've got planned. So it's Sting and Darby Allin versus Swerve and AR Fox at the pay-per-view. It's going to be Darby Allin versus Swerve, and that's easy to tell a story within a week because you've already built up the story. But again, that story has come quite late again, really.
It's felt a big rush job for every single story, apart from the MJF and Adam Cole one. They're going to work it to say CM Punk and Samoa Joe have had this rivalry for years to get the story there, but it doesn't feel genuine because we haven't seen anything really.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, we have seen stuff, but it's not been. Sometimes, right? You can swerve fans by giving us matches late, or you can let us go, this is the match, and we can speculate about it, and then that can actually be the match, and we all feel rewarded for guessing that was the match.
Yeah. I mean, I did sort of watch a video from another sort of podcaster, streamer, YouTubing group, and one of their guys actually said, would you not prefer All In to have no matches announced and go there completely bland and just have epic match after epic match, and then the week after have the story?
No, because the problem is, Dan, you've got to if you're doing that, you are just risking injury. Because every match has to go out and be spectacular. And actually, the flow of a pay-per-view, you don't need every match to be spectacular. It'll wear the crowd out, it'll wear us out.
No, but you can also do things with that sort of card where you don't have to have every big name on the card. You can have a couple of a few big names and then a few surprises. You don't have to do a full AEW roster like they're trying to do, having 4 or 5 multi-man matches just to get people on the shows.
Well, that's what they're doing. That's how they're doing it. Norma says, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, once you've done that one, we can always go through the match card that we've got because we've got them all in slides ready.
Let's talk about the match card. I got to believe Cole will win, but there will be a stipulation in the contract MJF had him hastily sign that will result in the belt not changing. To me, that is so confusing.
Yeah.